Okay, so I assume that you have seen or at least heard about the slap heard around the world. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today, about what that was about, how it plays in to the bad marriage advice I've been talking about fighting, and whether or not your wife actually needs you to defend her. So I'm Leslie Dories, your marriage coach, creator of the Hero Husband Project, and owner of Foundations Coaching. So how this relates to what we've been talking about in terms of fighting is this is exactly where you see emotions hijacking everything. Um, I didn't watch the awards, but I have seen this, and I'm sure you have as well. And, you know, everybody starts talking about it, right? Why did he do it? What was going on? Should he have been arrested? All of this other stuff. But in some respects, that's not the point. The point is that one person, Chris Rock, made a comment that was taken to be demeaning about Jada Pinkett Smith, Will Smith's wife. And Will Smith got upset, got up on stage and slapped him, and then went back to the audience and continued to yell, right? Will Smith was out of control. And this is a case of just because somebody gives you an opportunity, it does not mean you should take it. And this is what I've been talking about the last couple of weeks in terms of bad marriage advice and fighting. You make the situation worse. Now, it also begs the question of did Jada need Will to stand up for her? Now, she has a medical condition, which is very difficult. I don't think anybody wants to lose their hair. Men don't want to lose their hair. Women don't want to lose their hair. It's not a fun thing, right? Um, People stare at you. There's shame around it, although why, I don't know, because it's a medical condition. People should not be ashamed of their medical conditions. But the question becomes, what do I do about it? And should it take the form of physical interactions? Now, my opinion is that unless somebody is actually in danger of being hurt, keep your hands to yourself. I mean, this is something that we learned in kindergarten, right? Um, Generally doesn't help. However, I have been guilty of this too. I mean, one of my sisters once said something to me, and I had a little copper Revere pot in my hand, and she ticked me off, and I hauled off and walloped her with it across the face. Not proud. Been there, done that. I get it, which is why I'm telling you that acting when your emotions are running high is a problem, right? Now, this could not him not doing that, Will not doing that so publicly does not mean that he didn't have to say something or address it later. Now, again, there's also some talk about whether or not there's bad blood between the two men. But again, this it then became all about Will's reaction to this, right? It didn't put Jada in the front, and it made it all about these two men. Now, yes, this is something that commonly happens in marriages where one partner does not feel supported and protected by the other partner. Usually, this has to do with family interactions and some other things. Will make hurtful remarks, sometimes on purpose, sometimes not. But the thing is, it's always about that person. It's not about you. What makes it about you is what you do with it, right? So if if your mother and your wife don't get along, or your sister and your wife don't get along, or your best friend and your wife don't get along, who you choose to back is very telling. Now, you may not think that your mother is being obnoxious to your wife because that's just the way mom is. Or you may give excuses for your sister, right? But every time you do that, what you do is you undermine your marriage. If you do not stand in the breach, and I will say this, that whoever is the common denominator, so it's you with your family, your wife with her family, whoever is the common denominator needs to step up and stand in that breach. Now, that doesn't mean you get physical. It just means you set appropriate boundaries around that. So whether it's you don't give your mother a key to your house so she can walk in and rearrange your kitchen, whether that means you don't go to family events because your mother or your sister makes hurtful remarks to your wife, then you make that decision. You and your partner, this is the forsaking all others piece. You and your partner are a team. You guys need to talk about this in private, and then you need to set this up publicly. And you're not asking for anybody else's permission, but you don't have to get physical about it, right? But this is about having a plan, not leaving it to when your emotions get riled or when your wife's emotions get riled. This is the importance about learning to manage your own stuff. Because as you saw, people are talking about this, and and again, I didn't, as I said, I didn't watch it. And by the way, it took the focus off of what this was supposed to be. And it's still going on a week later. And there have been all kinds of comments about what's going on, whether or not Jada has emasculated Will and all about their marriage, which again, none of your damn business, unless the only marriage you should be commenting on and focusing on is your own. And getting caught up in what somebody else is doing. Now that can be helpful to go, okay, what would I do in that situation? But that's not what people are doing. People are standing in judgment, right? And celebrities are nothing more than famous people. They're people. They have all the same crap that we do. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, Studio City, North Hollywood. The business was always there, right? I'm not impressed by celebrities, but because they're just people who have a particular talent. So, and I realize this probably isn't making any sense, but the whole thing is that decide what it is you want to do. Get control of your emotions. Ask your wife, does she need you to protect her? Right? Jada was not in any physical danger. Now, yes, it was all obnoxious. But taking the high road and having a conversation with somebody who is saying damaging things either to or about your wife, that's okay. Puffing up your chest and getting physical, unless she's in physical danger, not so much. So I'm really curious. I'd love to hear your comments about what you thought was going on and what it brought up for you, and whether or not you and your wife have talked about this. So hopefully you found this not quite as convoluted as I think it might be. And I'd love to hear your comments. And if you guys struggle with protecting each other in a healthy way, then I invite you to get in touch with me. You can put a message down below in the comments. You can direct message me, or you can send me an email at Lesli at Foundations Coaching. And until next week, I'll be back to the bad marriage advice. Until next week, stay loving.